Now let's start where he burst onto the coaching scene in 2019. That was at LSU, where he was the wide receivers coach and passing game coordinator for the Tigers. That was the super stacked team with Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase. And those are the guys who beat Trevor Lawrence and T. Higgins in the national championship. Joe Burrow won the Heisman Trophy and set a new FBS record with 60 passing touchdowns this year. And Joe Brady won the Broyles Award that season, which recognizes the top assistant coach in college football. Now, he actually got his NFL start a couple years earlier. That was as an offensive assistant with the Saints, and that's where we're going to bring in our guy, Clay Harbor, because he worked with Clay Harbor over there, so we're going to get a lot more on that in a minute. But his first OC job was calling plays for the Panthers, and that came right after that LSU season. That was in 2020 as part of Matt Rule's new staff. Now, Joe Brady's offense, with a lot less talent than that LSU Tigers offense, did a lot poorly. They were 24th in scoring in 2020. He was fired partway through the 2021 season, and they were once again 24th in scoring. So obviously, the poor scoring led to him being fired, but Matt Rule at the time said another reason he was fired was he was not running the ball enough. So we're going to put a pin in that because we're fast forwarding now to the middle of 2023. Joe Brady had been working as the Bills quarterback coach when the team fired their offensive coordinator, Ken Dorsey, and Joe Brady finds himself as the offensive coordinator once again. And he really helped the Bills turn things around, and he did it by reestablishing the run game, which is something I know Bears fans are going to love to hear. So he wasn't running the ball enough with Carolina, so he starts running the ball more with James Cook. Before he took over in 2023, James Cook was averaging 12 yards per carry and 61.5 rushing yards per game. For the rest of that season, when Brady was the interim OC, Cook was then averaging 16.7 carries per game and 72.4 rushing yards per game. They made him the full-time offensive coordinator after that. And it's worth mentioning this year the Bills have the number 2 scoring offense. That's really impressive because it's after they shipped out Stephon Diggs, right? A lot of people expected the Bills offense to take a step back without Stephon Diggs. They replaced him with Keon Coleman. Keon Coleman, as a rookie, has missed a lot of time. The Bills have not missed a beat, and Josh Allen is playing at an MVP level. But here's the big question, and this is a question that is going to come up with some of these guys, right? How much of this is Joe Brady, and how much of this is Josh Allen? How much of the LSU Tigers' success was Joe Brady? He obviously won that Broyles Award, which is great, but how much was just Joe Burrow and Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase all playing together? So he's had success with great offenses. But the Panthers situation is also a question he is going to have to answer for. Why did things not work out in Carolina? And so now, Clay, you worked with this guy in New Orleans. So you have some extremely unique insights and stories to share. So can you please share what you got on Joe Brady, the coach?
So, yeah, I first met Joe when I signed as a free agent in New Orleans in 2017, and he was the assistant tight ends coach. He helped, and our head tight end coach was Dan Campbell. You know, so those two personalities, it was funny watching those two interact because Joe doesn't have the biggest personality. He's not to himself, but he's kind of a quieter, nice guy. He's very introspective almost, I would say, but a really smart dude. And then you got Dan Campbell, who obviously we've heard all the quotes and we've seen all the bravado and everything that he's got going on and how confident and the personality that he has. And Joe is a guy that was quality control. He was the assistant tight end coach, but he would always, Dan would run a meeting and he'd ask Joe, do you have anything to add? And Joe would always have something for us. And like, yeah, you know, he would know his route disciplines and everything. And he was a smart guy that knew exactly what the quarterback was looking for. And he would say, okay, here's what the quarterback's saying. And that was something that was like his part of the meeting. Joe, what's the quarterback looking for us on this play? So he's a guy that can coach multiple positions. He's a guy that's one of the hardest workers. Like he's going to be in there early. He's going to leave late. And I know you could say that about any coach, but the one thing that would worry me is I don't know if he's got the personality when you walk in a room to command the entire team. right? He's a smart guy. He knows his offense. Obviously, we're talking the NFL. When I was there, he was under Sean Payton, Dan Campbell. I mean, those are some big-time names, some coaches that are doing well. But obviously, Sean's personality, big personality, wasn't the nicest guy in the world. I'll say I didn't love Sean Payton, but you respected the heck out of him just because of who he was, what he did, and what he commanded of you. And Joe is more, obviously, when I knew him for that year, he's a quieter guy. He's not the biggest personality in the world, very smart, knows his stuff, buttoned up, but can his personality create an entire culture for a team? So that would be the question I would have. I love Joe, was a great guy. I'd be like, yo, Joe, come out and throw me 100 before or after practice. He's doing it. He was that would do anything and go above and beyond anything you needed from him or expected from him. But his personality is not this outgoing guy that would command a room, in my opinion, when you have a team like the Bears who really to establish a new culture of accountability. I'm not sure Joe Brady would be the guy to fix that. I think he's got what it takes to be a head coach, but I think you want him to kind of come in with more of an established culture, an established quarterback in a situation like that. And I don't think this Bear situation would be the best situation for him, just because I don't think that's him as a personality standpoint that can really come in and change a culture and like that.
You also have to wonder, this isn't Josh Allen. This isn't Joe Burrow, his last year of college. Like, you have to teach and develop a young quarterback how to be an NFL quarterback. And I think that's a huge part of this. Like, yeah, sure, he maybe has transformed this Bills offense. There's really no way for us to know that because you have the MVP, right, running it. So arguably the league MVP. So to me, what concerns me is he going to come in and tell Caleb Williams, like, everything you're doing is great. Keep doing what you're doing. Use your God-given talent. Or is he going to come in and say, hey, you got to be better at this. And we got to figure out a way that you're doing this better. Like, you need that sort of strong personality, because it almost feels like, guys, when the Bears drafted Caleb Williams, they treated him like he had, all the answers. Like he could do it, on his own. And I think there sort of needs to be someone coming in and saying, we are resetting, sort of how we are going to grow this offense as one. Like, it just feels so disjointed, and it's like Caleb and everyone else. And I just want there to be sort of this cohesion for this offense where you're developing and you're teaching them in unison, to steal a word from Thomas Brown, right? Like the unity thing. Like, it doesn't feel like this team is super connected on offense. The offensive line is doing their own thing. Caleb's doing his own thing. The receivers are doing their own thing. And it's like, is there going to be, it doesn't, to me, Clay, based off of how you were describing this, like, Joe Brady doesn't sound like he has the personality necessarily to come in and just like rally the troops, like get everyone on the same page. And I think when you talk about this sort of leader of men, phrase, whatever the heck that
program
means,
leader, Ruthie, remember we changed the phrase last week. Program leader.
I'm sure these guys are working hard and they're brilliant, but like, you need someone to really come in and get this thing on, get people in check. Like,
you're right.
Feels like you need a culture overhaul.
Yeah. And I love how you said that, because you look at a guy like Ben Johnson, who was able to kind of turn around Jared Goff, versus Jared Goff is a good quarterback, but he wasn't Jared Goff now before Ben Johnson. Obviously, Josh Allen has been Josh Allen for a while. And no, Alex, as you alluded to, great numbers. When he took Ken Dorsey was 5-5. And since then, 17-5 for Joe Brady. So you have seen that improvement, but he still is working with Josh Allen, a guy who is an MVP caliber quarterback. He's the same quarterback, and it's a little bit easier and different to put something into place for a guy that's playing at that level, is to kind of build someone up that isn't used to playing at that level, that doesn't play at that level, and getting more out of something you haven't technically seen before. So I think, like I said, I love Joe. I think he's a great teacher. I think he's going to be a good coach, but I don't think the Bears' job, being around this organization, born and raised in Chicago, being around the Bears organization, having to instill that culture, I don't think this would be the perfect fit for him. Because like what you said, I don't think he's really worked with a young quarterback that you really got to mold and really teach everything. You're starting from the basics here. Caleb Williams' footwork, I mean, I'm not a quarterback expert, but I know what footwork's supposed to look like, and he's got a lot of work to do there still. So, I mean, there's a lot of things you got to work with, and that's not something that you'd have to do with a Josh Allen caliber player.